Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm 𝗖𝗽 Biniaz. I'm joined by 𝗖𝗽 Benesocky. Welcome, Eva.
Thank you, August. Hello, everybody. We are joined today by Esther Reizes-Lowenbein. Did I pronounce that right?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Esther.
Welcome, Esther.
So it's great to have you, Esther, my friend. She is a serial networker who has a knack for connecting buyers, sellers, and investors. So can you please start off by letting everybody know a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. I have a long history, so I'll
Please
start, and you interject, ask me questions, wherever you feel necessary. But I am a mom. And then I'm also a speech language pathologist. So I've been working as a speech language pathologist for about 10 years-ish, give or take a little more. I graduated my master's with honors when I was expecting my second child. And then fast forward, after I had my eighth, I was like, time to change. It's time for a change. There were several reasons that just pushed me in that direction, and boy, am I glad that I did.
Oh yeah.
There were a few factors, such as moving from Brooklyn. We moved from Brooklyn to Rockland County, New York, where the system of being a speech language pathologist was very different. In Brooklyn, I worked in one school with one agency, and it was fairly easy. I saw students back to back. But when I moved to Rockland, the system is that over here you have to travel from house to house or from school to school, because every agency gets random cases all over. So I did that at the beginning, and then I'm like, the only way I'm going from house to house is selling the homes and not working in them. So that's how I started out. I started out on the residential end, but I always had my eye on the commercial end. That was one reason. And then also, as my kids were getting older, I was working with children, my kids' ages, and it was just getting so difficult to work with children and then come home to children of the same age.
Right.
So I was like, oh, that's enough. I gotta work with adults. I need a break from kids. I need to have patience for my kids when they get home. So that was a major factor of switching. I also felt like commercial real estate would totally feed my personality. I'm a major extrovert. I love connecting with people, meeting people, getting to know people. So I kind of found this job that fits my personality. I didn't have any people that I looked up to that were in the field. I didn't have anyone that I was able to say that they are my inspiration. This is why I'm going into this field. It was totally like finding a job that fit my personality. So when I went into the brokerage, the broker told me that I need to start with residential. So I said, it's no problem. I don't mind learning it. It didn't make sense to me because commercial and residential are two totally different animals. I'm sure you know that, Eva.
Yes.
But I didn't mind learning that. I said, I don't mind knowing it all. But I got involved with the residential, and just in my location, it was kind of grueling for many reasons. So thanks. I'm very thankful for all the difficulties that I went through on the residential end that really catapulted me into the commercial end. I'm forever grateful for all the hard times that got me here.
Yeah, that's incredible. You know what? She has successfully closed over $300 million in commercial transactions this far.
Incredible.
So good for you. And you started in 2018, right? Or just over 3 years ago.
Started about 3.5 years ago on the residential end, and slowly, one residential client asked me for a multifamily development, and that snowballed into that.
I love it. So let's talk about multifamily. What attracted you to the multifamily space?
Well, I really went into it because I had that one residential client that requested it, and as soon as I started fishing around for deals, I realized that there are another 300 people that are looking for multifamily units developments, over 100 units each. So I got into that, and when I felt like that market was the inventory was very low, at least on my end, I moved into the office space and the warehouse space. So I'm kind of all over in all assets by now.
Great.
That's great. You have a
Yeah,
question
no,
on
go
it?
ahead. I just wanted to kind of get right into and see what are the markets that you're
Nice.
focused in currently.
Yeah, so I'm pretty much all over, really. Like I've touched almost every single asset. Right now I'm representing very big sellers on office and warehouse space and flex space. Those are really what I'm focusing on right now in terms of being a realtor. I wish I had more multifamily. I'm looking for deals constantly, but on my end, I'm working on a lot of multifamily deals as in the equity end, which we can discuss as well.
Yeah, which
But
leads me into Esther is the queen of raising private capital. $30 million, I believe you told me you raised $30 million of private capital you raised in 8 months.
Right.
So how did you achieve this?
Right. So it all came from that one residential client that I started out with, that had gone through other realtors and just wasn't happy with the process. Unfortunately, that's why I say I wanted to redefine the face of real estate. There's so many realtors that are just like looking to make ends meet, which I understand. Everyone's trying to make a living, but some people are just doing it the wrong way and being very aggressive and circumventing, etc. I'm sure everyone could use their imagination and all the fun stuff going on. And I just, I came into the business saying that I'm going to do everything in a transparent, honest manner. So I think people really appreciated that, and this client as well. Fast forward, I did 6 commercial deals with that one client. And then one day he asked me if I happened to know capital for another deal he was going into. So I made 2 phone calls and I found the capital. It was fairly easy.
Wow.
And then people heard of, that I'm doing this, and somehow, seamlessly, I raised 30 million from co-GPs and JVs. And then I'm like, I got something going on here.
Yeah.
I got something going here. I should really monetize what I have going on here. So now I am working with an attorney and we're opening a fund. I go into several deals as a GP, and I obviously do some management work, which is required by the SEC. That's part of my job. So I'm an investment manager, and then I assist with with equity.
Incredible. And that's really amazing to hear your journey of doing it all while you're having 8 children. That's incredible.
It's like,
I hardly take care of myself, let alone 8 children.
Yeah.
But it's great to hear that journey, going from single family to multifamily, then going into larger commercial deals, and then being also involved in assisting your first client who was having difficulties with the equity, helping that equity, raise that equity, but then realizing that, hey, I could possibly be involved in either brokerage or helping raise capital, getting lawyers involved, the best way to do it right away initially, and then being part of the general partnership, which then makes it all compliant because you actually have a role which you play within the structure of the ownership of the asset. And please, Ava, if you have a question, go ahead. Otherwise, I have some questions about one of the recent deals you've done. Maybe you can tell us about how did you guys find that deal? What asset class was it? Is there a value add component within that deal? And what stage are you guys at it as well? Kind of maybe walk us through one of your recent deals, if you may.
So are you talking about being a realtor, investor, or capital raiser?
No, more of that co-GP side of it, please. Yeah, sorry for not being specific.
Okay, no problem. I have so much going on all ends, so it's pretty incredible. And this is like something that I never expected. So it's all booming and busy, and I'm so thankful for it. No complaints. And I gotta say, I started doing this out of hobby. I absolutely love it. So yes, I have 8 kids and things are crazy, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I had to learn to delegate as much as possible, and starting a website, starting an office, we're growing. But as a deal, so I've connected several, that happened. Obviously there were people that I knew, that I was dealing with in the commercial market. So it's fairly simple, it wasn't even like so much work because it was just a few phone calls between the people that I was working with already. It was an upstate, what's it called? A residential compound, like a bungalow colony that I raised for, several commercial industrial spaces in New Jersey, and an a multifamily in Connecticut.
Great. Awesome.
Incredible.
Awesome. Yeah, if you like to go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention, why don't you tell us about your plans and aspirations you have for the next few years?
So it's a really interesting question that I get asked often, especially like at the beginning of 2021. People were like, what are your goals? How are you measuring it? What tools are you using, etc. And I was like, I don't know. I started this all for fun. I never imagined it would grow so fast. So for me personally, my goal is the moon. I don't have a specific measurable goal. What's pretty cool is also that my husband was investing in real estate before, but we're coming from the business world. But now that I got into this, he's like pedal to the metal real estate investing. So we're right now under contract ourselves and our team on over 150, close to $150 million worth of assets.
That's on the passive side, or is that on passive side as an investor, or you guys are actively involved in those?
Actively involved.
Actively involved. Okay.
Yes. So we're mainly in the industrial market right now. We're buying warehouses, New York, New Jersey. As of now, we're ready to go anywhere for a good deal. We're all looking into some office spaces as well. But we're pretty much looking for any good deal anywhere.
Right.
We're not discriminating between class assets.
And a quick question about that, as our viewers are aware, we're a Canadian real estate investment firm that focuses on acquiring assets in the US. So we're in a way remote investors, but we partner with active operators in the US who are our boots on the ground. So that's how we mitigate this issue of being kind of remotely involved. At times we have to fly down and have a look at an asset, of course. So for yourself, when you're looking at something that's out of state or in a different state, what is the plan there? How do you mitigate that issue of the boots on the ground? Do you partner with active operators? Do you have an asset management group or a company that you work with? How do you operate, or even on an inspection level, how do you conduct those things remotely?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, currently, we have all our assets pretty local. So it's pretty simple. But even now that it's local, we're hiring. We don't have experience managing as of yet. So we're hiring people with experience. We partnered with someone that's super experienced, that's done over $700 million in commercial real estate, of acquiring commercial real estate. So we have a very strong team that we're going in with, and we have managers in place for those deals, even though they're local. So if we would go out of state, which we're hoping to do, out of local, because we're in New York and New Jersey right now, we definitely, go out and hire either our own management team or third-party management. We'd have to figure it out. But right now, our assets are pretty local.
Got it. And you bring up a great point, and something that we always speak about is that when it comes to multifamily or commercial real estate syndications, this is when two different groups come together. One is the management group, who's got the knowledge and the background and the expertise, and the other group is the limited partners, who are the investors, and together they purchase an asset and they manage it and oversee it. It is a team sport. So it's not just me being able to complete an asset. It's not only Ava, it's me and Ava and our team, including with our investor partners who are on there, who also play a role as far as they're putting an investment in. They receive their quarterly reports and what have you. So this is definitely a team sport, and it's important to have a great team surrounding yourself.
100%.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk to you about woman empowerment. She has 8 children, and she's juggling all these businesses, and just obviously people are really, women are really looking up to you. So let's kind of dive into that.
Every time we talk about 8 children, I'm like, forget about real estate and commercial. Let's talk about how do you manage 8 children? Because if you can do that, real estate, private equity, that's nothing.
It's a lot. It's really a lot. The last 2 months have been beyond crazy. I've got so sick right now because it's a lot. It can be stressful. I am figuring it out as I go, because I never expected it to get here. On all ends, like on the realtor and on the investment end, it's all happening so fast. which is amazing. I'm so grateful, but it's a lot. So at home wise, I have a lot of help. I don't touch my house. When people come and it's messy, I'm not looking. I can't do everything. So that I learned to give up control really early and realize that I just can't do everything, right? I'm super woman, but not still human, you know? So
you're doing a great job. You're doing a fabulous job.
Maybe we can talk about New York, since you're from the area. There's a lot of talks about people moving out of New York. Obviously, the states that we're focused in, the Sunbelt states, there's a lot of interstate migration that's happening, people moving out of New York and moving to these other states, you know, with lower taxes, better job opportunities, better weather. So how have you found that? And are you seeing a certain migration happening in your area, people maybe moving out of Manhattan or other areas, highly dense urban areas, into more suburbs? So kind of walk us through that, and New York in particular.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I actually write for a magazine as well. So I've written an entire article just on this. So yes, that people are definitely moving out of cities into suburban and beach areas. I live in a suburban area, so my area is becoming flooded, actually. Wow. In my area, there are very few houses left for sale. People are grabbing them left and right. You know, there's been a massive boom here. And which led us to also buy land. So we bought land and we're building spec homes in our area as well. So that's been on our end, because we're in the suburbs. Everyone has a nice piece of land here, a nice house. We have gorgeous scenery. We have some grass. So people from the city are coming here. That's on my end, but definitely New York City is, I've gone to Manhattan recently, and it's just so bad. It's so sad. People are walking around, they're drugged up. There's garbage all over. The place smells terribly. Really? Terribly. It's just unfortunate. I'm hoping that the city, I'm part of a group right now that's trying to do our best to, you know, bring New York City back to where it was and even better. So let's hope.
For sure. And every time you know, a lot of times in movies, Hollywood, New York City is, you know, is at a center of certain movies, and Times Square. But as soon as COVID hit and there was videos of Times Square coming completely, you know, empty, it gives such a, you know, a weird feeling in my stomach. Go ahead.
And I love that you have a passion for writing. Please share with us about your blog and how you got started on that.
Oh, actually, it's so funny because I never considered myself a writer, and I don't really love it. But what happened was I had written a Facebook post about, I have a son that was born with some health issues. He's now 5.5. He's very cute, but he was in the hospital for 4.5 months, and times were very, very difficult. And then he came home with a tracheostomy and a G-tube. And for the entire year, I was just so busy with him. And I thought I was going to lose my mind. I always say, like, it's a miracle I'm still alive, because I went through a lot with my little Morty. When he turned 4 years old, I wrote a letter to him and I had posted it on Facebook. And it went viral, and a bunch of people reached out to me and they asked me if they could publish it. I said, sure, no problem. It was just my personal letter to him, that the lessons I learned from his journey and what I wanted everyone else to learn from it. And if I could be of any help to anyone, you know, going through something similar. So someone had reached out to me that they saw it, and they eventually, like, it snowballed into me writing for their magazine. I had met the CEO of New York Lifestyle magazine, and he's like, yeah, give it a try. Why not? So I started writing. And one of the things I do is that I highlight people's success, which I love to do. So I've interviewed like some amazing multifamily owners such as Rod Cleve, Brian Burke, Vinny Chopra, Kenneth Wolf, many, many others. I've interviewed lately a bunch of women that I'm excited to highlight. Very, very excited about that one. And I just write about whatever comes to mind lately. And another magazine actually just reached out to me if I could write for them as well. So I just submitted my first article for the second magazine. I think it's The Resident or Residence, something like that.
Oh, very cool.
So writing about the tax benefits of commercial real estate. So pretty much whatever topic comes to mind and that I want to highlight at the moment. I enjoy doing it because I enjoy teaching, what I know. As I'm learning, I want to teach the next person. I think education is key. I don't know if I told you, Ava, about how my past knowledge of real estate from where I came from and where I'm at now.
Maybe
So
touch on it again. I think you did tell me, but maybe share with August
okay.
and
So
our.
I was a speech language pathologist and just doing my job, and I didn't know much about finances or really anything. My husband and I had this going joke that we were in a workshop. He would work and I would shop.
Yes, that's right. You told me this joke. I love this joke.
That's a good one.
And all I would do literally was just swipe the credit card. That's my extent of financial knowledge. Swipe the credit card. I didn't know what a bill looked like. And even when we bought our house 4 years ago, I didn't even know what a mortgage was at the time. So, the reason I say that is, first of all, once I committed to learning everything I want, about commercial real estate, I'm not full force. Like I am nonstop. I don't, it's that or the kids. It's nothing else in between. I don't watch movies. I don't waste time. I socialize a little less. I host a little less. I used to host a lot.
Yeah.
But now that I do that a little less because I'm laser focused on my kids and my work, which I absolutely love. So I also a very big proponent of people becoming educated. So that's one of the main reasons I enjoy writing. It's because I want people to learn, people to be in the know. It's super important.
Incredible.
Great. And we have a question. I mean,
Yes.
it's kind of related to what we're discussing. Jamish, is did you do any mentoring programs or figure out how to move forward? So yeah, that's great. So you're talking about your journey, and it seems to be very expedited, and you achieved a lot in such a short time, writing and being involved in multifamily, raising capital, having to talk to lawyers. Was there any mentors involved along the way? And tell us about that process.
It's a good question. I don't think, no, I didn't do any programs. I've gone to every single class that I can, literally, like whenever my schedule is packed, like with classes, and no specific mentor, but I listen to every single podcast about real estate that I can come across.
Self-education, basically, a lot of self-education.
Yeah, constantly. Like I've gone to, whenever I have a free moment, I'm listening to something or reading something or joining classes. There's so much information out there. And then let's say one person piques my interest, I'll Google that person, listen to every episode that person comes out with. So, and you can learn so much just from watching others, observing, asking questions. Just keep on being out there, learning, and don't be embarrassed to ask. And to, if you feel like a coaching program is best for you, then go that way. It is a good route. It just wasn't my route.
Incredible. And I'd like to kind of segue into our next question that we ask all of our guests. And that question is, what would be the best advice for a passive investor?
Or your number one advice you would give, your top pick or number one, or best, it's still the same. You're right, Ava. But yeah, what would be your number one advice, like Ava said, to a passive investor or somebody who's looking to passively invest in real estate and not to be involved in day-to-day operations of a business?
Right. So I always tell people that always start out going as a passive investor, because you want to be that passive investor, but you want to be an active passive investor where you're not actively involved in the management and all the details, but you're watching what's happening. You want to sit there, you want to watch, you want to ask all your questions. There are so many people that have all these checklists of questions to ask, and you want to follow up as well, and be involved in the process. So be that active passive investor. It's very important. And do that before you go into your own deal, because you want to see and learn and observe from afar before you head into your own deal.
Great advice.
Great advice. Our second question, what advice would you give to someone looking to start becoming an active investor where they're kind of more hands-on?
Yeah, so definitely, learn from being a passive investor, my first answer. And I think a team is super important. You want to build your team. You want to go in with someone that knows how to underwrite well, someone, that has accounting, or you hire someone that's going to help you. So I think the team is vital.
Very important. Very, very right.
It's hard to find. It's really hard to find, but when you do, I think that's gold.
It's gold, definitely. You have to have the right team.
Okay,
We're
awesome.
just, if anybody else has any more questions for our guest,
Yeah,
just you can
please go
quickly
ahead.
write it in here.
And then we do have another question from Jamisha is asking about they're raising capital. Are you open-minded on what project, what asset class you raise capital? His question in particular was, do you raise capital for ground up developments? But attached to that, I guess my question would be, are you open-minded in what type of deals you would raise for, or what you look at when you do help somebody with the equity needed for their deal?
Yeah, that's a great question. So from my little experience, only doing this for about 10 months now, is that the number one criteria I look at is about the sponsor. I vet the sponsor before. So the deal itself, is important. It's important. The location, the deal, and the returns are very important. But the most important thing people want to see is who's the sponsor, who is doing the deal. So from my little experience, I can write a book already about what deal to go into and what deal not to go into. Number one of my criteria is knowing the sponsor's track record and their transparency level.
Great advice. Yeah, we're coming to the end of our show here.
But that being said, I am working on several ground up deals. So yes to that.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Yeah, but there's the small difference. My background is in construction and development from ground up, and I've raised money in the past. The issue with it could be an issue is that there is no cash flow in development projects from day one. In certain ways, there could be structured where the equity is raised from the investors, but so it creates some form of cash flow. But usually, there's no cash flow because there is no revenue producing structure that you're building that. In the hopes of having the cash flow. So
we love that cash flow in multifamily
from day one.
It's very interesting. It's so interesting that the most success I'm having right now is with ground ups, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is because some of these already built assets, the price range are higher than what it would cost you to build it from ground up. And then also when you build from ground up, you can build bigger units, so then it can cater to people now looking for the type of assets they look for today. And there's lots of other bonuses and stuff. So ground up is definitely coming into the forefront. It is the asset class that we're also going to be looking at moving forward, possibly again in the US. So yeah, it's a great conversation.
Yeah, I feel like it's more for investors that are ready to hold their money long term, that they don't need it as of right now. But I also feel like the returns are better with ground up for the investors.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Great.
Incredible.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you so much.
Such a pleasure having you on today.
Definitely a pleasure.
A lot of respect to you. And
likewise, Ava, you're amazing. And I know now that I got to meet you, I'm so grateful.
Yes.
You do amazing work, and everyone has such nice things to say about you. So I'm so glad we connected.
Well, same with you. We hear nothing but nice things with you and your large following on LinkedIn. And I was just going to say, Ava, she has 8 children, and I was talking about getting a puppy, and you're like, no way, that's too much work. Just
I'll call my girlfriend over here. She'll help me out.
No puppies for me. No.
No puppies for you.
Enough.
I really appreciate you. Thank you, everybody,
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for everybody joining us.
And if anyone wants to reach out to me, feel free to find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram.
I'm going to share it one more time.
Yeah, please share her contact info one more time.
Your contact info if anybody wants to reach out to you. About all different things, about buying and selling and possibly raising capital, learning how to raise 8 children.
And I just wanted to say,
write a book.
Yeah, you need to write a book. And raising capital is one of the most difficult things. So kudos to you. You have a natural talent for that, and amongst other things. So,
all right.
Thank you everybody so much, and we'll be seeing y'all on LinkedIn.
Yep. See you soon.
Thanks. Have a great day.